I'm in Magma Division. I'm having a time. I've got 4 wins. No, I was really bad. I'm not gonna do that one. I gotta. No, please give me another chance. Please give me another chance. Hello, and welcome back to the Magma Division recap. It is week 6. I am your host, Spood, coach of the Southtown Sandslashers, and joining me as always
is White Loaf, coach of the Bayou Belly Bolts.
And haven't we got a week this week? Haven't we? Haven't we always got a week? That's how it works.
Have we got a week?
Oh, have we got a week? So if you're, just now joining us and you haven't committed last week's recap to memory, firstly, shame on you. Go back and rewatch it a few times so that you can recite it from memory. But
I expect word for word transcription on my desk right now.
Right now, do it right now. But the quick and dirty recap is that Magma has a very nice kind of aesthetic spread of wins and losses going into week 6. Because we have the 2 at the top are 4-1, then you got 3-2, then you got 2-3, then you got 1-4. It's 2 each. So the field is honestly pretty thin, and at this point, really the only ones who are effectively out are Eevee and Mechura, who, at best can get up to 3-4 and then maybe slightly positive diff if they back-to-back 6-0, which would be in itself very difficult, but if Metropic or Chemith found even a single win, and they're fighting each other this week, so one of them is guaranteed to, by definition, then if, you had Anchor or Chemith pick up another week, another win in, week 7 or whatever, basically, it's just not feasible. But really, for everybody else, it's very on the table.
Yeah, no, this is a very exciting week because this is going to show, more or less who are our lock-ins for playoffs, and even then, while there's still room for shenanigans, we're gonna get a pretty good idea, at least of probably first 2, if I had to imagine.
Mm-hmm. I think that's definitely fair, given that especially again our top 2 players are going to be fighting each other, and we'll save that for the last match because it's a real explosive match. You're gonna love it. But our 2 4-1s are going to be fighting each other this week, and our 2 3-2s are going to be fighting each other this week. And actually, our 2 2-3s are fighting each other? Or... No, it was Anchor versus Eevee.
No.
So, no, okay, got it, sorry.
Yeah, no.
I've got misinformation on the internet. Okay, excuse me. I'm off my game right now. My goodness, it's late. I'm sorry. We're tired. And we're going to start with... where else to start but at the beginning? We have got Mechura of Eevee Inc. versus Snake of the Miami Milotics, and this one is pretty do or die for Snake. Mechura coming off of his first win last week, which was very nice, but, it was into Puppytown Ponytas, and frankly, it's too little too late. Like we were just saying, he's not really meaningfully contending for playoffs at this point, but Snake could still do it. He could still get up to a 4-3 record going into this fight, but he needs to not drop to Mechura.
Yes, and looking at the teams, how do you not drop to Mega Gyarados right now?
Yeah, you don't. Crunch, Earthquake, Waterfall, all look incredibly strong into this team. We've seen Dragon Dance many times. You can see Ice Fang coverage even for Serena. We forget to do Terra-type previews, I'm realizing. So that's kind of funny.
Yeah. We do know at least that Glaceon is Terra Ghost, so a small spoiler.
Small spoiler, yeah. But Serena is a Terra captain, so not knowing what type that she is actually kind of an issue. But hey, we'll address that at some point. Really on Mechura's side, again, we're not Eevee maxing quite as hard as last week. We only brought 3 instead of 4. Ursaluna, Blood Moon, Mega Gyarados, Ditto. Pretty much like your three big scary guys, and then you got your Eeveelutions. And again, we kind of give the Eeveelution's a bit of a hard time, but Sylveon's a fantastic Pokemon. Terracap and Glaceon's really solid, and Flareon is not useless, is pretty much all I can say about it.
I mean, Flareon's at least good for dealing with Serena before it Terras, if nothing else.
That's true, and it's like kind of... Well, it can hit Golden Go, and honestly, it like kind of can threaten, like, if it's a choice Chi-Yu and it's running Flash Fire instead of Guts, then at least it's like a fire immunity that can stop it from spamming Overheat while it's alive.
God, I got Flash Fire. That's true.
It is not the superior ability, but, you know, again, it's got its niche applications, and here, yeah, I could actually see it being pretty decent, so... pretty, you know, as solid of a team for Mechira as I could really expect him to have. Meanwhile, on Snake's side, I mean, you got all the staples, minus Dragonite, which is conspicuously absent, although I can imagine, you know, you don't really want to be Dragon Dancing in front of Ditto, or getting caught in front of a Glaceon Ice Beam, or getting hit by a Dragon Dancing Gyarados without a meaningful way to stop it.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. So it does kind of make sense that Dragonite would maybe just sit this one out this time.
Does Moldbreaker ignore Multiscale? Do you know that off the top of your head?
I'm gonna look that up again real fast. I want to say it does.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that would be just, you know, another reason on the long list of reasons to bench Dragonite this week. So not surprised to not see it here. Basculegion looks strong, Golden Go always looks good. Bellybolt is going to be pretty vital in keeping Gyarados in check, and just in general being kind of an annoying bulky pivot that can't be hit for 4x super effective damage. But there's not really much else to say about it. I reckon we're just going to go ahead and hit play.
Yep, and then full discretion, it does ignore multiscale.
Okay, that tracks. And see ya.
See ya.
So yeah, Mugsdale lead. I think last game was around for like 10 turns before it actually got killed, and here it's just instantly gone.
Yep, but also with that, Flareon is also instantly gone, being brought in against Basculegion, just really clicking flip turn.
Yeah, kind of a questionable switch in, but really, again, in the realm of like Pokemon I'm willing to sack there, I don't mind Flareon as the pick.
Yeah. And, you know, that just goes to show you how powerful Bellybolt is. We do see on this next turn that this is Specs Ursaluna Blood Moon once again.
Yeah, the struggle pops the air balloon, which is incredible. That's a new interaction. I haven't seen that one before.
Yep. I'm going to go out into Ditto, which I don't hate this. You can throw it out with a Shadow Ball, but instead we go for Recover.
It's kind of risky because you could, you know, like if he had Nasty Plotted on that turn, expecting a switch, then Ditto wouldn't have gotten the Nasty Plot because it would have switched in before the Nasty Plot goes off.
True.
So, I don't know. But looking at this, like, woo, see ya. That Make It Rain really comes back to bite him. Under damaging, doesn't kill Glaceon, and then dies in return to that Shadow Ball.
Yep, and these two are just trading Pokemon right now. Just back and forth constantly.
Yep, it's a real slap fight. But really, from this position, he does risk the Static Para. Doesn't happen. This Dragon Dance is incredibly brave and actually gets away with it because of the Power Whip miss. And then, honestly, I mean, look at this team into a Dragon Dance Gyarados.
Yep, Crunch just picks up Basculegion. You know, Chi-Yu comes out. It is Scarf, going for like a Dark Pulse flinch, but doesn't get it. And Waterfall just picks up the KO, and Eevee Inc. getting their second win.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, you know, he got very bailed out by the Power Whip miss, but definitely, I mean, he did good to acknowledge that, like, whoa, Snake's team very weak to Mega Gyarados after a Dragon Dance. You're kind of just going nuts, especially if you've already chipped the Bellybolt, and you have. So, you know, I think even if the Power Whip had killed, you know, Mechira had, like, you know, specs, presumably specs like Vacuum Wave could deal with Chi-Yu from Blood Moon, and, you know, you still had a full Sylveon, which could be very bulky and deal a lot of damage. So, I don't think it was necessarily, like, you know, game deciding to dodge the Power Whip, but it definitely made it a lot more easy.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And that's good news for Eevee Inc. picking up a second win. That always feels good, but for Snake, that is doom for his odds of getting into playoffs. It's pretty much now a non-starter.
Yep, that has knocked them out of contention, but I'm going to see his hold on. Did they come up?
Yeah, I was everybody's waiting for you.
Alright, that's fine. It's a surprise tool that will help us later.
Right. Yeah, going
But-
into the next match, I would love to hear you introduce it.
Yep, our next match is going to be Puppytown Ponytas, coached by Eevee, versus the DuDanishDunsparce, coached by Anchor. And I mean, looking at this team, we see the usual suspects. We see Rotom Wash, we see Mega Scizor, we see Como-O, we see Whimsicott again. But this time we do see Noctowl and Weavile.
Yeah, no Heatran.
Yeah, no Heatran. Which, I mean, looking at Mega Swampert, Politoed, even Turtonator, kind of makes sense why no Heatran.
Yeah, although the thing about it is Turtonator is kind of the thing that makes me wish Heatran were here from Eva's perspective, because Turtonator looks really strong into this team, minus against obviously Noctowl with a special attack boost could be scary, but it's got a lot of physical defense. It's really putting out a lot of damage into things like Weavile. It's not super easy for Rotom to switch into it, especially if it invites in like a Shell Smash, Dragon Pulse, or something. So,
yeah.
It's not like Eva doesn't have answers for it, but I think Heatran being benched for this week makes it a bit more volatile.
Oh yeah, no, an air balloon Heatran is obviously it's difficult to keep the air balloon, but it does make it pretty safe against Turtonator.
Yeah.
At least for a turn.
And I mean, honestly, you could even do maybe like a Shukaberry or something, because
Oh true, yeah, that too.
That doesn't get chewed up, and depending on how you invest it, go full special or something. I don't know, because you could run physical or special, but I don't know. We'll come back.
You're my berry guy. I always forget about berries, but you always bring me back to the light.
Oh, I love berries. Sorry, you maybe got a little too used to Gen 8 VGC, where nobody was allowed to eat berries. Everybody was too unnerved by Calyrex. But
yeah, a little bit.
No, we live in a Gen 9.
It's okay. Calyrex is back.
Calyrex is back. Meanwhile, yeah, Anchor side looks pretty standard, except again including the Turtonator. But you see all the usual suspects: Grimmsnarl, Politoed for Rain, Mega Swampert doing Mega Swampert things, Kartana doing Kartana things. It's all very straightforward. It's just, again, I think that Turtonator is kind of a sleeper hit in this game, because you really need a fire hit to hit Scizor, so that's kind of like the Scizor answer.
Great.
So,
Let's
get
into
it.
See how it goes.
Rotom Wash lead, pretty typical. Anchor, also, I mean, really, Grimmsnarl lead's pretty typical as well. Fairly passive opening. Eva with a very early defog kind of just puts Anchor on tilt. They're just kind of okay, party shot. And here's where I would start to diverge from Anchor's choice, because Anchor goes for a Shed Tail here instead of just attacking, maybe expecting a switch from Rotom. They don't see it, they go into Mega Swampert, but then, a Hydro Pump, crit doesn't matter, would have taken out the sub anyway. Crit Waterfall doesn't even do as much damage as a Grass-type move would have done from Sceptile outright, even like an Energy Ball or Relief Blade. Except now you've used up one of your two or Shed Tails to get that damage. Yeah. It was just a very circuitous way of getting not much progress.
Yeah, Anchor is very much about the setup, but I feel that they just don't... They don't have that recognition of I can set up here, yes, but I can also just kill a Pokemon instead.
Yeah. I mean, this thing sits here for 10 turns, just burning and defogging and volt switching, or attempting to anyway. And just doesn't really make a lot of progress, or Anchor doesn't make a lot of progress into it.
Yeah, and we do see the Energy Ball come out, but at that point, Eva recognizes wait a second, maybe I just switch here.
Yep. And there goes the next one. That's both Shed Tails now out of play, and Anchor is just in with Swampert. Although now we see a very ambitious Weavile. And this third stance triple axle, it hits all 3 times, but it just doesn't do the do.
Power creep. Well, what more can you say?
True. Gen 6 has too many strong Pokemon. Yeah, so I like that sack there. Because I believe it was running Endeavor, as it had been doing in previous weeks. So, if you try to Sword Stance, I Endeavor you down to 4 HP, and if you kill me, then I get to say switch, so.
Yep.
Potato.
Yep.
Anchor goes for another Protect. I don't really love these Protects, because you're just passing your own rain turns and taking more burn damage.
Yeah. I think we do opt to go for a pair song, so now we get to at least put this Whimsicott on a timer as it comes out. Also let the Polytoad get sacked, which I don't hate, and then we just go back into Grimmsnarl.
It's just hard, because, like, yeah, nothing really loves switching into a Moonblast from this thing, so I kind of get it. Anchor identifying that thing has to go, and hitting the parting shot, getting their own advantage switch, and Kartana is a natural fit. And this time, Eevee opts to give up the Rotom, which I think was still a pretty good game piece, for what it's worth.
Oh, yeah.
But then we see a Vacuum Wave.
Yep. Como running a little bit more special attacking this side, going for Vacuum Wave, which I do really like here. Still not killing Grimmsnarl, which is funny.
It's very
I know
funny.
it's a light screen, but like, damn.
And here we get the Shell Smash. This is very dangerous if you risk getting like Encored, but thankfully for them, Eevee does not have it or does not hit it, and then the rest of it's all pretty straightforward.
Yep, at this point, now we just click an attacking move and something dies.
Yep. And, I mean, you can't ask for a better end game than that. I got my guy set up, and now it's faster and has coverage for everything you've got.
Yep. We love Shell Smash.
Yeah, we love Shell Smash. We love Turtonator. Turtonator, I think, a little bit slept on. Very cool Pokemon, and, you know, against these sort of middle speed teams does really, really well, so... excellent work from Anchor. I mean, good wherewithal to take that. That's a very easy one to lose. Como, especially, it's just one of those Pokemon. Or I mean, really, Como and Mega Scizor are both just so threatening so fast that, like, one Swords Dance or one Belly Drum, suddenly you're just getting swept. So, good on Anchor to not get rolled over by that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think, you know, there were some places where probably Anchor could have tightened up. You know, like I said, understanding like why you're hitting Protect, and you know, be a little bit more conservative, I think, with the Shed Tails, because you can get so much value out of that move, and it just feels like really across the board the Shed Tails haven't really been going super well for either them or Cabral really this whole season, despite how strong it is in theory.
Yeah. I will say in the case of, like, you know, like Shed Tail, like especially with Sceptile here, like one of the benefits is like it is so fast. Like you are more or less guaranteed to get a Shed Tail first, unless it's a Scarf Pokemon. But on top of that, Sceptile is not exactly a weak Pokemon either. It's definitely, you know, lost its like biggest like stabs from, like, ironically, the physical special split. But 105 special attack is still not terrible.
It's usable, you know. It's a good Pokemon, like you say, with Unburden especially. It's really fast, and it's got good coverage. That random like Dragon coverage from its Mega it's really nice. So really, you know, I think you could get more mileage out of it, yeah, just as like a general use sort of fast, annoying Pokemon, or even just, yeah, again, just using the Shed Tails. Wait until a little bit later in the game. You know, that's what I think.
I agree, especially because, like, you know, if you're playing on Switch and like Leaf Storm, like, oh no, I've dropped, you know, 2 special attack. I'm leaving anyways.
True. I mean, if you want, you can even run like White Herb to activate Unburden, right? And then maybe get a second Leaf Storm if you want. So there's a lot of, you know, cheeky little things you can do with Sceptile. I'd love to see it applied a little more thoroughly, but hey, for Anchor's credit, you know, they get to live another day. They do get more games with Sceptile and are not not doomed to the you know, falling out of playoffs contention pit quite yet. We should talk about the next game, because it goes on for a while, so we should probably more or less jump
we
into
should
it.
start that.
We're going to do a pretty breezy overview. We have got Chemith of the Washed Up Wishiwashis fighting Metropic of the Bekasi Bisharps, both of them doing fairly decent. We're not seeing like as crazy dominant of a season from either of them as we are seeing out of Cabral and Vincent, but they are still tied at 3-2 going into this, and the winner is looking not guaranteed but fairly comfortable for playoffs, whereas the loser is going to not be guaranteed out, but definitely is going to have to step up their game in Week 7.
Yeah, this will kind of decide like who, you know, especially now that Anchor has gotten a win. You know, and a fairly comfortable like 3-0. This will decide like basically who's gonna drop down. Um, Even if it is a 1-0, it still runs the kind of like risk of like Anchor could just kind of like sneak in and claim that 4th place spot.
Yeah.
I think then there's some like tie and like matchup shenanigans. Like I know if Kenneth lost here, it was a 1-0, I think he would still be over Anchor, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be complicated, you know, if Kenneth lost this one 1-0, he would be sitting at 3-3-3, and Anchor would now be at 3-3-6. So actually, yeah, he would fall below Anchor. Because the thing about Anchor is, Anchor is really good on diff. Anchor's win-loss isn't as great as the other ones who are sitting at the top, but their relative diff compared to their win-loss is very high. So,
oh yeah, I can't math. Yeah, no, Anchor would overtake you either way.
Yeah, so basically, especially now that Anchor's gotten that win, really between Kenneth and Metropic, whoever loses is probably going to be falling below Anchor. And they definitely don't want that to happen. They're not going to be out, you know, there's going to be a lot of variables in Week 7, but we should definitely just kind of get into it. I'm also playing it on fast mode, and you'll see why.
Yep.
As far as the teams go, these are both very bulky. You know, we've seen, like, this Altaria is always insanely, you know, I wouldn't say passive, but very support Altaria. You know, Kenneth's team has a lot of guys that don't do a lot of damage, like Delmise, Garbodor, you know, Electros are all fairly passive.
Yeah. And here we see, you know, like a Toxic coming out from Altaria, another Toxic coming out from Garbodor.
Yep.
And we're starting to set up Swords Dance now with Pheasantipity.
Yep. And Pheasantipity now out of range of Gunk Shot, so Kenneth elects to just throw up a second layer of spikes and then gets crit by Play Rough, and that crit does matter, as he makes clear in the game chat.
Yes.
And that's bad news for him. You know, he was running Explosion on the Garbodor, so he wanted to, you know, get a little bit of extra damage there. But you know, obviously, like, you don't want to really risk spamming Gunk Shot over and over.
Yeah. And here, you know, Population Bomb coming out. But we only get 3.
Only 3 hits. Very, very shallow Population Bomb. Does not get a lot of damage. Takes an extra turn. Takes a lot of damage. Low Kick's First Impression doing a lot of damage. Tinted Lens goes crazy.
Yeah. I love Tinted Lens, dude. It's such a good ability.
I mean, Tinted Lens U-Turn is doing almost as much as, like, an Iron Defense for this thing, which is super effective because of Filter. It's kind of funny to think about.
Yep.
And now we see the first instance of the I'm setting up. Like, both of these guys are playing a very dangerous game here, because whoever gets the first crit body press is just going to obliterate the other person.
Yeah. You know, at this point, you know, Filter, you know, making the super effective move not very high, and then the Terra Poison just, you know, keeping this thing alive. I almost wonder if it would have been more beneficial to just not have Terra in front of this thing yet. Just so you can't be body press, but
well,
I don't know. I don't remember how much Heavy Slam was doing.
I think the Terra Poison prevented it from getting toxic earlier, which would have made it a lot worse. So.
Oh yeah, I know. Like, I think, like, at the end of the day, they still made the right call. Yep. I'm just trying to think, like, how much Heavy Slam was doing earlier. But yeah, regardless, you know, we do win out the body press war.
Yep. We see a very unorthodox set. This is 2 different setup moves and 2 different attacks. It's Swords Dance, Poltergeist, and Iron Defense Body Press. And by now, this Altaria has shown it actually can't touch this. Its only move to do damage is Toxic, and otherwise it's just Roost, Substitute, and Cotton Guard.
Yep. You know, for once it's not trapping. Which ironically, this would have been a really good team to start trapping Pokemon on. Yeah,
that passive damage, you know, even just like the Perish Song onto this thing would have been nice to have. But yeah, it ultimately just, you know, it isn't the Nimbus that we'd seen in weeks prior.
Yep.
Despite, I mean, I like the set. It does get some mileage because you see this Toxic and the Hazard stacked pretty effectively against this Keldeo. See the Icy Wind dodge, that's very unfortunate because the Pheasantipity obviously would get 2 shot by it and also would be slower than Keldeo guaranteed.
Yeah. I also don't like the switch into Keldeo letting it get poisoned. I think, you know, you whittle it down a little bit more. It is going to win the PP war, but you get it low enough to where it's forced to roost instead of being able to get out of another sub, and then you bring out Keldeo.
Yeah.
To get that Icy Wind off.
The Swords Dance has a lot of PP. It's a 32 PP, and we counted it out. Delmines has 80 PP total versus Pheasandipity's like 52, or not Pheasandipity, sorry. Altaria's got like 52 or 54 or something like that. So it has plenty of PP to just stall out Altaria, and then whatever else switches in, then you can start body pressing and poltergeisting, you know?
Yeah.
And then he completely dodges the Population Bomb, doesn't have a defense boost. That would have done a lot of damage, but unfortunate for Metropic, you know, he is paying back that crit and the Icy Wind dodge in spades at this point. Because we'll see some more action from Metropic's end later. But you know, Population Bomb just hitting 3 and then missing is tough.
Yeah, it's not great. Getting an Icy Wind on Meowstic. I love how little that did, by the way. I always forget that Meowstic's kind of deceptively bulky, at least on the special side.
It's not bad. And Keldeo is taking a lot of damage now off of that Toxic. Metropic doubles, but kind of gets an awkward double, but Chemith doesn't really respect the Altaria, you know, or he respects the Altaria too much and switches out. And he misses the Icy Wind here. Metropic going for a smart substitute to just stay behind it, waiting for the Toxic to run Keldeo out. And it does wipe out the Keldeo. But then he remembers this thing has Taunt, which, you know,
yeah.
Altaria has no attacking moves. So again, if it had, you know, Fire Spin, it actually would have been pretty good into this team, generally speaking. But you see here, you know, he's forced to sack Pheasandipity to the U-turn and spikes. And now Delmise is back in and forces out Kojiro, the Samurott. There we go. And then this thing, first impression's free. Tinted Lens goes crazy. The U-turn is free here. Back into the Scarf Crocodile, and you know, even if this thing locked into Aqua Jet and like crit and killed it, it would get outrun by Max Speed Low Kick's first impression, and then that's it. 64 turns.
Yep.
So
a nice 2-0 though.
Yeah, that was a tight game.
Yeah. There's definitely some like RNG shenanigans, but I think overall both players played like really well. There are a couple of moments where like I think they just kind of like let the pressure get to them a little bit on like some setups and stuff like that, but overall they both played like to their strengths really well.
Yeah, I think that, the RNG was kind of weird, but it was pretty brutal on both sides, and to be honest, I got the impression that Chemith was sort of crumbling more than Metropic was, you know?
Yeah.
You know, like, for example, with that PP stall, you know, he's got like a clean 30 more PP on Delmise, so you don't have to be spamming your body presses and poltergeist. You can just sit there and Swords Dance, you know? But, you know, Chemith, he ended up feeding a lot with his, like, Keldeo and stuff. But, I mean, ultimately, like, Low Kick's clutch is hard. The just, like, every move on that thing, you know, Sucker Punch, First Impression, U-Turn, Taunt, all got action. And, I think Chemith did come in with the superior team building and ultimately pulls off the win.
Yeah.
Pretty grueling, pretty brutal match, to be honest. But, you know, ultimately, like, because of how narrow the margin is, you know, again, loser's not out, winner's not hard guaranteed in. But Chemith can sleep a little bit cozier now. And Metropic, not out, but is going to have his work cut out for him in the final week.
Indeed, but it is now time for our final match of this week. And here we have Cabral, coach of the Slinging Aegislashers, versus Vincent, coach of the Heerlen Hawluchas, Spoopman. And I mean, looking at the team, from Spoopman, we've got the usual contenders. You know, we've got Mega Garchomp, we've got Gigalith, Terra Captain Cradley, Dracozolt, Sandslash, which actually I don't know if we've seen Sandslash yet.
We've seen it, yeah. We have.
Okay.
It doesn't really do much, so I can forgive you for not noticing it. You know, I think the most we've seen it do is like spin away rocks one time and then die in 2 shots. So I don't know.
That sounds like Sandslash, yeah.
Poor guy, yeah. I mean, it's a pretty standard-looking team from Spoopman. At this point, you know, it's pretty much like pick your flavor of Gigalith or Tyranitar, and bring Greydilly every time, and bring Garchomp, and pretty much Dracozolt every time. just kind of figure it out. And I mean, it's working. It is working. Magma is handing him many wins. He's currently sitting, obviously, you know, not fully undefeated, but at a strong 4-1 over this division. And on the other side, Cabral with a, I mean, maybe not as, like, I have a hard time calling, you know, Spookman's team unconventional. It's very conventional in the sense that it's a hard sand team, but Cabral's team is really weird, has a lot of goofball weirdos that are getting a lot of good play. You know, Hisuian Zerork has been really strong. Arboliva has been especially strong. Really, the spotlight has not been on his powerhouses like Blaziken, but on his weird little mid to low tiers.
Yeah, no, Arboliva has been really making waves with how incredible it's been. Whereas Blaziken has kind of just been like chilling there. He's been just kind of biding his time, waiting for the opportunity to come in and just click buttons. Which, I mean, like, looking at this team, I mean, hey, I mean, close combat, like, that looks incredibly free into all of Vincent's team, minus the Terra Ghost on Cradley.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, show me the grass resist. It's Drake's ult. Show me, you know, and we see, like, it's Terra Ground on Arboliva, so that's going to be pretty tough in general, depending on how well it's played. You know, Hisuian Zerork, if it's Scarf or if it gets an opportunity to set up speed, goes insane into this team too, because it's, you know, you've got your special bulk from Sandstorm in fairness, but, you know, the special bulk is not inherent to the stats, we'll say. It's a lot of physical bulk. That's just kind of Rock types thing.
Yeah. But I think that's enough of the analysis. Let's get into the
Let's
match.
see how these two Titans fare in this exciting and surely long, heated match.
So, you know, immediately, you know, exchanging Pebbies, exchanging Seed.
Yep.
You know, Cradley comes out, it takes nothing. I don't know if that's because of, like, the Sandstorm, or if it's just, like, heavily special defense investment, or both.
Sure, it doesn't hurt, you know. It's, you know, in this scenario, you know, Cabral's relatively safe to Shed Tail, and Spookman gets behind a sub, kind of anticipating that on the switch-in. But when he sees Coil, he's like, oh, shoot, well, I have one answer to this, and it is the special fire move on my Mega Garchomp, which Mega Garchomp is known to run. And, indeed does click.
Flamethrower, yeah. Does get a very unfortunate 10% burn as well. Immediately followed up by, you know, all 5 hits from Scale Shot.
Yep.
Which, you know, is definitely quite unfortunate.
Yep. Cabral opts to turn on his Terra Ground in an attempt to live a hit, get off an alluring voice. Which does work, but, you know, he's then in range of the next Flamethrower, and with the Scale Shot, this is now outrunning his entire team. And suddenly, this is actually really dangerous, because, whoop, you're gone. And, I mean, show me what handles this now.
2-turn protect Blaziken.
Pretty much, yeah. Also, presuming there's not, like, another Scale Shot in the mix. So here's what's difficult, because Cabral does start making some good plays here. He gets the Earth Eater here. He gets, I think he sacks more Pico, and then he actually does another sort of clever, like, oh, I'm switching in, like, Blaziken on a Flamethrower to maybe get a second, you know, like a speed boost on switch in, then another speed boost on a Protect after, but it doesn't end up working that way. And looking back with the benefit of hindsight, you know, Terra Water on the Rampardos would have lived in Earthquake under grassy terrain because of the debuff. But because he'd used the Terra on Arboliva the turn before, he wasn't able to click it, and so just died.
Yeah. And if it's running Terra Blast, I think we did calculate earlier, it does kill at 55%, which the Mega Garchomp was at before. Yep. But that's a, you know, coulda, woulda, shoulda kind of situation. And
yeah.
Instead, you know, Vincent comes in, gets a nice clean 6-0.
6-0 sweep with one dude. You know, and it's a shame too, because again, you know, that Arboliva, had it not had to come in hard on a Scale Shot, you know, with that Grassy Seed, you know, it could have gotten 2 hits off. You know, if he just like sacked something else to get it in, it could have maybe forced the Garchomp out. Because honestly, I mean, Coil Earthworm does insanely well into everything else besides the flamethrower coverage. So if he just had scouted for it or had gotten, you know, if he'd maybe saved the coil for a little later in the game, I think it could have gone quite a lot better, because you still kind of have that element of surprise, right? Like, it's not rare to see Coil Earthworm necessarily, but I think a lot of people at Team Preview, they're going to look at it and kind of be thinking about Shed-Tail instead.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed.
So there were a handful of different ways that Cabral could have stopped that from happening, and unfortunately just, again, you know, pulling the trigger too early, saying like, well, I really hope this doesn't have the fire coverage that kills me, I'm just going to play like it doesn't, and then being shown that it does, that's a tough break. You know, we're lucky that Cabral is as high in the rankings as he is going into this game, because getting 6-0'd this late into the season is a real vibe killer.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not great. Especially, you know, looking over at the standings. Yeah, it does put him, like, significantly lower, like, differential-wise now. You know, like, going from... What did he have before? Let me double-check real fast. He was sitting... at a 12 differential, and now he is instead sitting at a 6 differential with a 4-2.
Yeah.
Which
keeps him high, but you know, handily removes him from his previous position in first, and that's where I think we should maybe segue into talking about the Week 6 standings. So why don't you take the top half? I will take the bottom half.
Yeah, so looking at top half, you know, now we have Swoopman sitting at 5-1 with a differential of 12. We have, Heerlen Hawluchas, 5-1 with a differential of 12. We have washed up Wishiwashis at second. Well, actually, it's a 3-way tie here.
Well, no. So it isn't. It's actually, there are no ties.
It is still second place, washed up Wishiwashis, 4-2, differential of 6. Hashling Aegislashers also 4-2 with the differential of 6.
But lost the head-to-head, so is in third.
Yeah, is in third still. And I forgot also DuDanishDunsparce 3-3 with a differential of 6.
Right. And on the bottom half, we have got the Bekasi Bisharps, coached by Metropic, at a 3-3 +2. Eevee Inc., coached by Mekura, at a 2-4 -7. Snake of the Miami Milotics at a 2-4 -13, and Puppytown Ponytas, coached by Eva, at a 1-5 -12. So
yeah,
basically bottom 3 are donezo. The best they could get is 3 and 4 from Eevee Inc. and Miami Milotics respectively, and they're just not going to, you know, they don't have the diff to meaningfully get above. I mean, they might go as high as like 5th, depending on how Metropic does next week, or maybe even if Anchor well, not even Anchor, actually. So yeah, it's really just Metropic that maybe they could lap if they do really well and he does really poorly. And really by they, I just mean Mekura, because Snake's diff is too low for that even. So the real interest is in the top 5, because we see Anchor breaking back into the top 4 after a long time of kind of floating in that sort of middling, not quite playoffs position. And Anchor is going into a match that they are favored by seed to win, which is kind of a rarity, because Anchor came in as a fairly low seed in the initial seeding, which is against Eevee Inc., against Mekura. So in theory, Anchor should have a relatively straightforward final week if they just play their seed, compared to the other matches which remain, because, you know, Heerlen Hawluchas, you know, Vincent's got Snake. That, again, by seed, should be fairly straightforward for Vincent to win, and even if he loses it by any amount, he is still guaranteed the first place out. It really doesn't even matter what happens for him this next week. His position won't change, his playoffs eligibility won't change, he's a lock. Yeah. So, we're really going to be focused in on how Kenneth and Cabral and Anchor and Metropic do.
Yeah, those are the kind of the big ones to look out for, to see like how their positions play, see like who drops, who falls. Because realistically, I think any 3 of them or any 4 of them could drop out of playoffs, and then rise back up to playoffs. And it just depends on how well they do on their matches. Anchor has good enough differential that as long as they win, they are guaranteed to, go up.
Yeah, they don't have to win by a specific amount. As long as they just 1-0, they are effectively guaranteed in, because they're already sitting at a +6. Like, their div is tied, so... and we've got, above them is only Kenneth and Cabral, who are both fighting somebody, again, like, lower on the list, but Cabral in particular has a tougher match against Metropic coming up in Week 7, and that one is do or die for Metropic. Basically, if he loses that, he is going to be out in almost every circumstance, unless Anchor just gets completely wasted by Mechura, which then could keep him back up. Conversely, if Kenneth really struggles against Snake, you could still see him potentially fall out, although it's very unlikely given the current layout. It's really going to be, especially for Cabral, I think, do or die time next week. And certainly for Metropic. Like, that is going to be the most important, the highest stakes match, and the one with the most ramifications for the most people as far as who advances and who does not.
Yeah, indeed.
So you're gonna have to join us next week to see how that goes. In the meantime, feel free to go and check out the Aqua Division recap with you and Aurora?
No,
Cabral and Aurora. I should know this by now. Sorry. Aqua.
Me and Aurora will be covering Skull Division
when it gets finished.
At some point. Yeah. When it gets finished.
We're still, as of recording this, waiting for the final match of Week 6 to roll through for Skull, but honestly, you can skip this week at Skull. It's not that good. So I would recommend that you check out maybe Rocket Division if you want to see some very interesting matches, and that coverage is from me and Cabral. So thank you all very much for joining us. As always, for the Magma Division recap, we are very excited to see you for the final week of Division Stage of Double Duke Draft Season 8. We hope to see you there.
Yes, can't wait. Bye.